Hey everybody, this is Captain Kyle. I'm here at New York Comic Con 2018, and we're here to meet some of the talent behind Reign of the Supermen. So, with Reign of the Supermen, what were some challenges, especially since it was an established story back in the 90s?
And so there was a lot of story, and there's a lot of things that sort of happened, and we had to sort of, because, we're trying to just tell one story with a very limited amount of time, and also on top of that, we're working in a continuity that James has set up. There were sort of more tenements that we sort of wanted to make sure that we upheld. Like, we're introducing four... to this universe anyways, entirely new characters, right? The four new Supermen. So we wanted to make sure that we gave each one of them their moment. And for the fans of each one, we wanted to make sure we represented each one, at least giving them, their moment to sort of shine a little. But on top of that, sort of, like, what is this story that sort of makes sense, with basically that follows the death of Superman.
So what kind of modernization did you have to do? Because this was over 20, almost 30 years ago that the original came out.
This entire story is played out in a series of tweets. That's all we get is a run of text.
Don't listen to him.
Between Bibbo.
No.
In the Ace of Clubs.
but really, when you talk about modernization, I think what we got to do, what we were afforded the opportunity to do that they couldn't do in the comics, was we now know the rich history that took place after Reign of the Supermen of these characters. We learned more about who some of these characters are throughout comics that came after Reign, and so we were able to sort of bring some of those threads in.
We kind of retrofitted it back so that knowing their origins or knowing what we find out about them later helps inform us how they should act and speak.
We weren't going to pretend that we didn't know, how these guys came to be or what, So I think we got a chance here to update it, to give it a little bit more of how we would do that story today.
Putting together the talent for this, what were your thoughts in choosing the talent?
Well, it's part of it's taking place in part of our ongoing continuity. So Jerry O'Connell was already our Superman, and then a lot of the characters had to be cast like all the Supermen. We lucked up with Lois Lane being Jerry's wife, Rebecca Romaine, and she's a great Lois Lane. Regardless of if Jerry was in the movie, she would be a great Lois Lane because she was awesome. She really nailed it. And once we got the key characters who matter to general public, then we had to hone our choices for the new Supermen so that each one of them would pop. And I think we have a great cast. So Cress Williams is Black Lightning, and he plays Steel in ours. Patrick Fabian is our Cyborg Superman. We just have a great cast.
Let's go. Did you refer back to the original?
The source material, as it were. Yeah. I did not, and the reason is because I was on a comic book head growing up, so I was unaware of the source material like that, and I figured I would just work with the script at hand that we had. And Wes Gleason, who was our casting director and also guided me through this, he would help fill in the blanks if I had any questions. In the end, the great thing about the story that they wrote, and like most of animation today, it's just like a play, just like a live action television. In the end, you're talking about a scene. What do you want? What are your objectives? Who's in the way? And then you just figure out what the stakes are and sort of act accordingly on that. So I sort of use that as a template.
You had a world without a Superman. How did you conceptualize that?
I get the lines and I just kind of do what's there, and the writing is so good. When you have good writing, I think all you really have to do is read it, pay attention to the energy that's sending you, and go with it. you see Kat more in her professional capacity here, so the tone is easily set, I think, because of the environment she's in this. But yeah, I mean, when you're working on something that's well written with good directors and good producers, it's kind of easy to embody it, I think, because there's a lot of good stuff to work with and good guidance. So
my biggest influence on Martian Manhunter is the Justice League animated series, Justice League Unlimited, and of course Young Justice. So I guess Carl Lumbly was like a huge influence on me growing up, watching and listening to this character. So I would say that, and then also just his. There's something about him that I really love as far as his fascination with humanity and wanting to see the best in humanity because of the events that happened back home in Mars. And as far as the relationship with the white Martians versus the green Martians, and losing all of his race, and wanting to see the best of humanity not go in that direction. So so I'd say a combination of knowing, of being influenced by Carl Lumbly as Martian Manhunter as a kid, and then of course being enamored with Martian Manhunter's story, with John Jones' story. That is what heavily influenced my take on this.
We looked at the source material and we tried to kind of bring it to life for animation. It was such a big event comic in the 90s, and I'm really glad that we got to do it in 2 parts, because that gave us the latitude to introduce these 4 new Supermen and just have a lot of fun with it. I try to keep stuff that is fundamentally important to the character, and then I try to update respectfully where I think something needs a little improvement. Like if you look at the full Eradicator design, it still feels like what it was in the comics. You have the goggles and you have the basic look of him, but there are, I think, improvements that were made. Because the thing is, comic book artists are not always specialists in terms of design, and certainly if they are designing, they're designing for the printed page. So it's an entirely different medium, and we have to make considerations based on the medium that we work in.
To be Cyborg Superman is like, can I say badass? Because it was. It was great to see myself on the screen and see my voice spill out of this great animation. So I'm thrilled about that.
I mean, I grew up. Because it was huge news as a kid. That the death of Superman. It was like it was a huge thing. So to be able to be involved in it as far as the film is just, it's surreal. Yeah.
Like in Death of Superman, even though it's not that faithful to the actual original comic, hopefully it hits the spirit of it, which, again, that was our goal in the Death of Superman, which it seems like most fans are okay with. So hopefully they'll be okay with this one. So.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end. You can subscribe here to subscribe to the channel. There's more videos off to the left. Mr. J says don't forget to ring that bell button for more notifications.